In this video, we are going to do the walkthrough of core Azure components that we discuss in this section. I am on the Azure portal. Let's start with the Microsoft Entra ID. As discussed, as and when you create the Azure account, you get Entra ID tenant. Now, this is the service where you can come and navigate so that you know how to create users and groups. We mostly going to put a focus on users and group in this particular discussion. Rest of the things I think we will pick up as and when it comes in the rest of the other section. But right now, this is where you come and create a users, the way that you see here, so many users that I created, and you can create the groups as well, right? This is how that experience is. Another thing is that we discuss that you get a kind of on Microsoft domain, right? Now here you can see that I got a custom domain assigned to this particular tenant called securevantage.au. But if you go ahead and take a look into the custom domain names, I think this is the domain that I got when I created this particular account. And then I basically verified this domain, and then I made this particular domain as a primary domain. That's why here you can see that my primary domain is a securevantage.au. Otherwise, if you just created the account, then your domain name would be something your company name.onmicrosoft.com, right? That's one thing. Second thing, we talk about a trust relationship with subscriptions, right? So you can go to the subscription blade and you basically can take a look how many subscriptions are there under the tenant. So this particular subscription is tightly integrated to the tenant that you saw here in the Entra ID tenant, right? And you can control the permissions for this particular subscription using this tenant, and you know only the given subscription can be only associated with the tenant, one tenant. You cannot associate this particular subscription with multiple tenants, right? That's the understanding we should have, and that is what we discuss as part of the trust relationship, right? That's the basic core. I just wanted to make sure that you understanding. Then we basically talk about the management group. Let's see management groups, right? Okay, this is what that management groups are. So here we discuss that this is the group that is created by default, but the the other groups that you see here is something I created per environment, because that is what I thought I would be managing this particular environment, right? How do you create this particular management group? Just simple, hit create and you enter the name of the management group and management group ID. Management group ID has to be unique, and you just go ahead and create. And then whatever the subscriptions are there, then you can push it under that particular management group. Nothing there as a rocket science, but only thing that you have to understand here, once you create a management group, this is where you can enforce the policy, right? At the management group level, which is then inherited by all the subscription underneath it. This one thing. Second thing, you can do even a RBAC, access control, at the management group level. Then again, it would be inherited by all other resources, right? That is a key. That means you can design your policies and the RBAC strategy in such a way that you can enforce them at the management group level, and then just plug in the subscription as and when you need it, right? So that way you can manage a very complex environment, so you have to definitely design this particular strategy. So that is what we saw, right? Then we saw the core thing, resource group, right? So resource groups are again a containers, and this resource group, you go ahead and create the resource group just by hitting the create button, and at the time of creation you specify the subscription and you specify the location where that group would be created, right? But even though you have a resource group created, let's say in a East US 2, you can still go ahead and create the resources which are sitting in the Australia East. So resource group location, whatever that you see, does not make that much difference, for the individual resources. Actually, you can still create the resources in a different locations, in a different region, right? Underneath that particular management group, right? And underneath that particular management group, you will have the resource. So every time you create a resource, let's say, take an example of storage account. We hit a storage account. We hit a create a storage account, and here you can see that every time you create any resource within Azure, subscription and resource group is almost mandatory. That input you have to give all the time. That is how the resources are tied to the resource group, and resource group is tied to the subscription, and we know how subscription would be basically placed under the management group, right? These are the, I think, very essential thing to understand as part of the core components of Azure, and then the rest of the things is basically based on the design you deploy, right? That's all pretty much in this particular video.